Hello friends, and welcome back to my channel. On today's video, I'm going to walk you step by step on how I made my strawberry crunch cake, and I'm actually using strawberry cake mix from a box, so I will show you how to doctor it up and make it taste super yummy, and you can trick your guests into making them think it's from scratch. For today's recipe, you will need 1 box of strawberry cake mix. We will also be using 1 cup of milk, 3/4 cups of vegetable oil, 4 large eggs, and 1 box of strawberry instant pudding. I'm going to go ahead and put my boxed cake mix into this mixing bowl. You can also use your stand mixer, but in this case, I will be using a handheld mixer. Next, I'm going to go ahead and add my instant pudding mix, and the reason that we add instant pudding mix to a boxed cake is to ensure that it's a little bit more moist, and it also alters the flavor a little bit. In this case, I'm adding strawberry instant pudding mix, so it will enhance the flavor of the strawberry. Now I'm adding in my oil, and in this case, sometimes what I do is I'll add half oil, half butter, but since I want my cake to be super fluffy, I'm using only oil. And I'm also adding in my 1 cup of milk. On the box, it asks for water, but to make it taste a little bit better, I opted for milk. I will also be adding in 4 large eggs at room temperature. The box calls for 3, but adding that 1 extra egg makes your cake a little bit more fluffy, and it makes it taste a little bit more homemade. I didn't mention this in the beginning, but this is a 1 bowl recipe, so I did just go ahead and add all my ingredients into this bowl, and I did begin by kind of just mixing it in without turning on my handheld mixer, just to avoid making a mess. But basically what we're doing is we just want to make sure that it is mixed until everything is incorporated and not to over mix. I did forget to mention this ingredient in the beginning, but I also added 1 cup of all-purpose flour to make my cake a little bit more dense yet fluffy and moist. I promise you it works, and it's really good. So I'm just gonna go ahead and incorporate the flour into my already mixed batter. And then once we're done mixing, the consistency of your batter should be a little bit thicker than usually when you just do the cake out of the box. So here's how the consistency should look like. To grease my pan, I used coconut oil. I am the queen of using whatever I have on hand, so this is the only thing I had on hand. But if you have that cake pan spray on hand from Wilton or your local grocery store, feel free to use that. Here, I just sprayed the entire pan, and once my pans were sprayed, I did go ahead and add a little bit of all-purpose flour, and I swished it around the entire pan just to make sure that my cake batter does not stick to my cake pan once my cakes are baked and taken out of the pans. I'm also the queen of not wasting anything, so I went ahead and added the extra flour from the pans into my batter, and I'm basically just mixing it into my already mixed batter. And here you can see that since this is a cake mix, there's a lot of bubbles. So I have mentioned this before, and on cake mixes that are prepared from the store, like in a box, they do use a lot of rising agents like baking powder, baking soda, so that's why it bubbles up a little bit. And here I am just going to go ahead and split it evenly into both of my pans, and I just eyeballed it. You can definitely measure it, but I'm also the queen of just eyeballing things, so I'm literally the queen of everything. Anyway, here it is. Once my batter was split evenly into my cake pans, I did go ahead and bake my cake at 325 degrees Fahrenheit for approximately 40 to 45 minutes. And here are my strawberry crunch crumbles that I did make in my previous recipe. I will post the link here in a little box so you can go watch it, and also in my description box. And back there I also have some more things that I will be using to decorate my cake. And I will also share with you my cream cheese frosting recipe later. Here's how my cakes look right out of the oven, and through that little crack you could see that the cake looks super fluffy. Here I'm just gonna go ahead and take them out or depan them from my cake pans to show you how my cake layers look once they are baked. And as I mentioned earlier, I am the queen of using whatever I have. So for this part, to level out your cake or take off that dome, if you have a long serrated knife, certainly use that. This was the only thing I had on hand, so I went ahead and used it. Another tip that I have for you to retain moisture in your cake is to immediately cover your cake layers in saran wrap while they're still warm and put them into the refrigerator so they can hold the heat and kind of create a little bit of moisture. Just a little tip, you don't have to. Now comes the fun part of decorating our cake. I am decorating my cake on top of a turntable. And to begin, I also like to add strawberry jam or strawberry preserves. So this is another little tip. I do go ahead and spread preserves or jam onto my layers just to make sure that it seeps into the layers and it adds another level of moisture to your cakes. Another tip I want to share with you is that we actually baked this cake on Wednesday and we decorated it on a Wednesday, but it was actually for Friday. So once we were done with the cake, we actually placed it with saran wrap into the refrigerator and inside a box to avoid the layers from getting dry. Now I'm going to go ahead and pipe a ring of frosting just so I can go ahead and have kind of like an outline of where I want to add my strawberry crumble, because we did fill this layer with strawberry crumble. For this part, you can also actually pipe a layer, like an entire layer inside the circle of frosting and then place your crumble, or you can do it like this. Your options are literally whatever you want to do inside your cake. This is what I went for and it was so delicious. And on top, I added a little bit more of this jam that I was using. Take into account also that when using jam on cake or preserves, your cake will absorb it. So it's better to use more than less, but also be careful when adding more because it can also cause your cake to kind of like spout it out on the sides. But for this part, we kind of just went with the flow of what we wanted our cake to look like. And yes, we did forget to place a cake board before beginning the decorating and filling of our cake layers. So just as a reminder, make sure that you place a cake board or a cake plate, whatever you're going to place your cake on, before you do this decorating part. And now I'm just going to go ahead and flop this side right on. You can certainly take off the brown parts of your cake or the burnt parts, whatever. But we don't want to waste any cake, so we just went ahead and did it this way. And we are going to pipe another ring of frosting around this little crevice or this little opening to help us decorate our cake a little bit faster and a little bit more even. To decorate, we are using a cream cheese frosting, and I will definitely share the recipe with you in another video. And here I literally just plopped the icing onto the top of the cake, and I'm gently just spreading it with a spatula. Keep in mind that we did do this for a family event, so it's not a totally perfect cake. It's not totally even, but it was certainly delicious. So for this part, I'm just showing you what we opted to do. You can certainly decorate your cake however you want, but I'm gonna tell you guys, like, the less perfect your cake is, the tastier it probably is. That's just my opinion. This next part will get a little bit messier. So once we had our cake as level or as straight as our edges could get, we are going to place a cookie sheet on the bottom of our turntable because we are going to use the strawberry crumbles around our cake. So we want to make sure that we keep the mess to a minimum. You can definitely do this on your table, but just make sure that it's going to be a lot of cleanup afterwards. And to add the crumbles and to make sure that they actually stick onto your frosting, you have to make sure that you do it as soon as possible because this is American buttercream based. So your icing or your frosting will actually begin to harden or to get crusted, and then your crumbles won't stick. So we actually did this immediately after we finished putting the frosting on the cake. For this next part, I am using a piping bag and a Wilton star tip. And as you can see, we went ahead and left the flop of our bag here because our bag actually bursted while we began piping onto the top of our cake. So I'm just basically piping swirls. And when I pipe one swirl, I literally go across the opposite side and pipe one swirl. And then I pipe basically kind of like a clock. So at the 12 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 9 o'clock, and 3 o'clock, and then I just fill in the gaps to kind of make sure that my swirls are somewhat even. But at the end, you're gonna see that I just literally piped wherever there was an empty space. So feel free to definitely freestyle this part or do it however you want. The result at the end is gonna be delicious anyway. And for added taste or like visuals, we did go ahead and add these strawberry cheesecake flavored Keebler cookies that I found at Walmart. It was literally the last package, and although they do taste very artificial, they were very, very good. Here's how our finished cake looks. I really hope that you try this recipe. I hope you love it. If you do try it, don't forget to tag me on Instagram, Facebook. Leave me a comment down below. If you have any questions, also comment down below. I hope this was a bit helpful. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and don't miss my cream cheese frosting recipe that is coming up very, very soon. Bye!